Last night, sports analyst Jason Whitlock would respond to all the controversy he's received after saying the event was a byproduct of communities controlled by single black mothers. Whitlock would double down on his initial statement, claiming that America has a growing preference for female authority and alternative family structures, which he considers dangerous. On his show, Whitlock said, "Black urban areas are dominated by matriarchal rulership. It is an utter failure and disaster. These areas all operate similar to Memphis. Crime is astronomical. Young men settle their differences with deadly violence. Academic performance hovers at a record low. Illegitimacy rates skyrocket." Whitlock's final point was to dismiss white primacy as the cause of this story and instead blame it on the destruction of male leadership while criticizing single black women. Today we'll have our Comedy Hype analysts, Danielle Miller Capone and Pierre, all calling in to give their thoughts and reactions. But first, let's take a look at this clip.
No racial group in America is more out of line with God's natural order than black people. 70% of our kids are born to unwed mothers. We don't view family as a necessity for success. It's just one of many options. The matriarchy, it doesn't work. My critics say my criticism is off base because Tyre Nichols has a mother and a stepfather, and that the city's female police chief, Carolyn Davis, is married and a mother. No one survives a rotten culture unscathed. The pervasiveness of baby mama culture harms everyone, including the non-participants forced to operate within it. Police start gangs to combat gang violence. Young men without fathers in the home are attracted to gangs. Baby mama culture celebrates gang involvement. Black men see black women as our leaders, our saviors. I don't. We got preachers sitting in pulpits that want to tell you, well, it's from slavery 150 years ago. And until we resolve slavery from 150 years ago, there's nothing we can do about it. It's a joke. And I'm the one catching criticism for saying, hey, this is about the family. This is about a matriarchal culture. That's how crazy this thing is. That's how dishonest this whole thing is. The system that's going on right now is about the destruction of male leadership. And all the leverage in a relationship has been thrown to one side, women. And black women have run wild with it. And I don't care if that pisses you off, but that's the reality. They've taken that leverage. I don't need no man. I'll have his baby, and then I will hold that baby over his head like a gun. I will use all this system that we've constructed to emasculate that man.
Now, while there are many things that we can talk about, as this was a 3-hour episode, where he talks about what he actually goes back on, saying that the chief is a single mother. We hear him talk about the matriarchal society. But Pierre, I want to come to you. What's your reaction to what Jason said?
Yeah, it's he's right. It's tough for a woman to run a household, but that's the whole thing of the system has pulled the black man out the family. They did it, it's purposely done because they know it's rougher for a woman to raise her whole family. So the system has made that. He's asking for the people, the victims in it to pull themselves up by their bootstrap. He's not blaming why they're in their situation. He's more complaining about that. You know, black men are jailed disproportionately more than white men in the urban cities. They give a longer time, so they're out of their families. You know, white collar crime doesn't get the same type of penalties as urban crime. You know what I'm saying? So it's really hard. And for a woman, you know, the job market has changed now. It's more of a mental job instead of physical. So women are mentally just as strong as men are. So the physical jobs are gone. So most men who aren't educated well in the urban city, who don't, who rely on their physicality, those jobs are gone. So it's harder for a man to find a job than it is probably a woman, a mental situation. And to turn around to say that, violence is happening in the urban community. Yeah, we look around, we see all. Here's a quick story. I had a white friend who was gonna come see me in Staten Island, and he said he's gonna bring some friends to see me. Showtime came. I said, "How many friends you got?" He said, I'm only coming by myself. I said, "Why?" He said, "My white friends were afraid to come into the hood." And I'm like, "Trust me, 4 white people in the hood won't get messed with as quick as 4 black men in the hood will be." We've been taught that if you kill a white man, all hell gonna break loose, all the police and all that kind of stuff. if you kill a black man, it won't be that much kind of violence, you know what I mean, that kind of publicity. So we see that, and so we feel like that black man's life ain't as valuable as that white man's life, so we ain't gonna mess with the white man. You get what I'm saying? So Jason Whitlock is talking about the end result, where we're at now, not how it began, and then why we're in our situation to make it. Yeah, he pointed out some bad stuff, but come on, man, it's the reason why it's set up the way it is, and we're in the position we are in. So.
Yeah, no, and I definitely want to dive into some of those points, so thank you for bringing that up. Capone, let me bring you in. I'd love to get your reaction after seeing this clip. I know we talked about it yesterday, but now we're seeing him respond to the controversy. What's your reaction?
It just pissed me off even more because this dude some woman, maybe his mother or somebody used to abuse him. He is really, really fixated on the hatred of black women, period. So I'm just pissed off just being a black man listening to this fool talk the junk that he's talking. He's wondering why he's getting, and I think it's all up his sleeve because he's not relevant. So this is a point that makes an unrelevant person a little relevant by reacting to his buffoonery.
Absolutely. Danielle, thank you so much for joining in on this topic. As I mentioned, we did talk about it yesterday, but I'm happy to have you on the show because I love to get a woman's perspective on this. After hearing from Jason, and I'm pretty sure you know the whole shenanigan, what's your reaction to it?
I don't think this situation calls for him to bring that issue up. Do I think that he has a valid point in terms of the family structure in the Black community? I do think he has some credit there, but in this case, I don't know how he weaved that in there. So that's my reaction when I heard him speak, and I see how he got there, because what he tried to do was he tried to give this analogy of the fact that there is a Black woman that is in charge of the police department down there in Memphis. So that's how he got to that point of the Black family. But it ain't tied together. Like the why wasn't, it didn't fit. And he should have left that issue alone and just focused on the fact that we saw police officers beat a man to death on camera, and focus on that point right there.
Absolutely. I think you make a valid point. And again, I want to make sure the facts are laid up. He mentions that the chief is a single Black mother. She is not. She is married, which is why he had to recant his statement. He just has an agenda and was trying to make it fit, and the fit just didn't fit. But Pierre, let me bring you in on this. Because like I said, there's a lot of points in this, right? It's obviously a 3-hour episode that we're not going to sit and take the time to play here. But I want to hone in on one particular piece that he talks about. He talks about this matriarchal society and how it's damaging the Black community. I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Do you think the matriarchal society of women, being in leadership positions, whether that's in the home or the workforce, do you think that's ruining the Black community?
Sure. I mean, if you want to go way back in time, God made Adam and Eve. They made a couple together, and he knew what he meant, male and female. He knew that would be probably the start of it all, saying that is a family basis. Two people coming together, a man, strong man and woman. I know now we have times that are changed, that two women can be together, two men can be, but the initialness, a man and woman together started a family off. And it's a pyramid thing. A man was, strength and whatever, leader of the home and stuff. The woman was there to take care of the other parts. And yeah, he's right. Yeah, it is bad when a single mother. It's not the greatest situation for a single mother to have to raise some kids without a husband or man in the house. Sure, but like I said earlier, the system is set up to get rid of the man out of the house. And so, why do you think the system has done that? System knows what that system was built knowing what it was going to do. And see, now look where we're at in some situations. But there's some women who can hold the house down. But I'm quite sure most women want a good man in their house that helps raise their children.
Okay, so I thank you so much for the response. I want to kind of move backwards. Danielle, I'm going to come back to you on this one. I know you just wrapped up the last one, but I kind of want to make this a balanced conversation. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Do you think a matriarchal society is ruining the Black community?
Mm-hmm. It is. Being the woman on this panel, I have to tread very carefully, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I think, let me first say this. We discredit the fact that how long slavery took place. When I look at my grandmother is over 80. Her mother that means my grandmother has been here for 80 years. My great-grandmother would have just come out of that slavery era. So I'm literally 3 generations removed from slavery, and I'm still looking 2 people in the face. That is from a woman who just came out that slavery era. With that being said, during slavery, they broke apart, like they separated the Black men from the Black women. And there was a reason for that. And that is because when you have a unit together, there is power in that. Even when you look at the family after slavery, like Pierre said, the system strategically tried to remove the Black man out of the home because there is power in unity in that home structure. We even see it today as my generation. We don't see as much men inside the home or even father figures around, because you could not have a man in the home, but you could have a father figure in the community. But we don't see too much of that anymore. And from that, we've seen the breakdown of common communication between male and female, because it's a double-sided coin. Not only are the females affected from the lack of family, but also the males are affected as well, because they don't really they don't have that father figure there to give them some type of guidance. So do I think that that this family structure that we have is breaking down the Black community? I do think so. I really, really do think so. Again, I just want to make this clear. I am not siding with Jason on this in any way, but what I am saying is strategically, we are being separated for a reason. And that is because the family structure stands very strong. There are some people that come from single mothers that are doing well. And that is awesome. I applaud you for that. But for the most part, there is a serious, serious breakdown and levels of trauma that are left with children when there aren't a proper family structure in place in the home. So that's my thought process on that.
Capone, let me bring you in and get your thoughts. Thank you so much for holding up for me. I'm going to propose the same question. What do you think? Do you think this matriarchal society, it can be in both family and in the workforce, I want to make sure that's clear as well, do you think it's ruining the Black community?
I think that people need to really know what this history is about. When that letter was written about you don't have to enslave Black people anymore because they will enslave themselves, is enough to tell you that that's a letter by Willie Lynch, who actually designed this situation. You do not have to enslave Black people because they will enslave themselves. And he started the letter off with light skin and dark skin will turn against each other. Old will turn against young. We are living these days now. And the last thing was, put a woman in power and she will overturn the man. And that way you will have complete control. Welfare, all of these things that pretty much have been done to us have been written. It's been written to keep this thing going. And anything that's a lifetime decision is made by white society. From the courtrooms, from buying a house, to the banks, to everything that we would have that could possibly change our life is made decisions by white people. And, I know people are saying the powers that be or the government or whatever, it's white people. And I feel that as long as they keep a chain on us, the invisible chain, we're never gonna surpass that. And now we're turning against each other. We were taught we were ugly. I mean, from little kids, they tell you to draw stuff in school, and you would draw a house or you would draw a monster and call that your father, things of that nature. All of those things are psychologically done to keep you in this slavery mentality, and it will go on for years until, like Danielle and Pierre said, we find a way to come together, but they're not going to allow it. Any time that we come together is something that's going to break us apart.
Absolutely. Now, Pierre, I'm going to come back to you. All of you mentioned slavery in this, and Jason Whitlock says he's not saying that this is about slavery. This is the family. This is us. This is Black people. We're the reason that all this is happening. So I mean, you pretty much answered it, but I'm going to lay up the question anyway. Do you think the effects of slavery, and I'm going to hone in on this particular situation because he talks about this particular situation. He thinks it's the family structure that made this happen. Do you think slavery played a part in what we saw in that video, those, Black officers beating that Black men to death?
I guess, yeah. I mean, I saw the Django and they had the white man, and the white man had Black people fighting against each other and, trying to hold each other back. I think just the image of a Black man is looked upon negatively from every aspect, even ourselves. You know what I'm saying? That's what those 5 Black men were after, the image of a Black man that they didn't feel like, they thought he was a street Black man, like he was a lower Black man than themselves and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So they had the same mindset as white people, like 5 white officers. They just say a Black man, we pull him over. Again, I don't know every detail of the story. It's coming out slowly but surely. But they figured, hey, it's a negative image. It's a Black man. It's negative. Would they have done all that had been a white man? When they yanked him out like that, and the white man ran, when they done, I don't know. But sometimes we got to look upon ourselves in our jobs and say to ourselves, you know what? Let me pull back on this brother or sister. Not let me put the same force on them. I'm just being honest. We have to give ourselves, not necessarily a pass, but just treat ourselves better, because every day we go through this stuff. We live in fear. A lot of Black people get afraid of certain things, getting a job, not getting a job, being shot, killed by other Black men, being pulled over, all that. And you're a Black man, and you're going to put that same situation on another Black man? Shame on you. That could have been handled way better. And I'll use it. Even as a Black man, could have said, bro, I'm not going to do you like this, man. I'm not going to yank you and do that, treat you like the Black image, that you are. I mean, you're a Black person. I'm not going to look at you negatively because you're a Black man. I myself a Black man. I understand what it looks like and how it feels. So let me pull back and not be so aggressive to you, brother. But they saw a nigga. I hate to say it, a nigga. No different than a white man seeing a nigga. So, we got to change the culture of seeing a Black man and saying that's a negativity right there. Boom, it's a negative.
Absolutely. Danielle, let me get your thoughts on this. Jason says he's solely blaming this on the family and in the Black community, but I'd love to see your thoughts. Do you think the effects of slavery had anything to do with this situation that we saw unfold in that video?
I can't really say, because they still haven't said what even led to him being pulled over. I haven't seen it as yet. I haven't seen what even led to them tasering him, what led to them pepper spraying him, like what led up to these events where you aggressively attack someone. I don't know if it's to say lack of family structure. I don't know what's to say if it's slavery, because all of the details aren't there. But what is interesting to me is when I read through some of the comments, some people was like, they're not surprised because it seems like police whoopings are pretty common in Memphis. Now that's questionable to me. Why is it okay? Why is it okay to say on the internet that police hitting other people in Memphis is the norm? Now that is where my eyebrow raised, and where that slavery sort of mentality came in, because why hasn't those past beatings or persons from there made national news? Like, that's not okay for somebody to attack you. That's not okay for somebody to hit you. But in the comments, it seems like it was just like a regular day in Memphis. So I can't really say to the video in terms of what mentality or frame of mind those police officers were in, because all of the details still haven't come out. Another thing that I can say that's interesting is the fact that how quickly they were arrested. I wonder why. And how it was no delay in terms of gathering up those officers and charging them. I wonder why. So yeah, those are my thoughts on it.
No, I think you laid that up perfectly. To close this out, Capone, I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well. Going to go straight to the question. Do you think the effects of slavery had anything to do with what we, had to see in that unfortunate video?
Let me just make this disclaimer. This is not the views of Comedy Hype. This is my personal view. This had nothing to do with slavery. The woman private part is the most powerful thing in America. And I will say that the guy who pretty much led to this incident happening is actually was very aggravated that his woman, or his ex-woman, should I say, had any dealings with this guy who worked on the same job. I said it a while ago that it's deeper than just, because in order to get your boys to do something like they done, as far as beating this man to death, that really had a bad rage of jealousy. And he probably expressed the story to his boys to make them come into it. And unfortunately, they were dumb enough to go into it. But here's the part that gets me, that does trigger off the slavery. Why isn't that the white man who was part of the gang, the white officer, why hasn't he been charged yet? Why they're trying to keep his name and everything under fold? And because maybe his story was a little bit different when he got back and everybody else got caught. You know, I didn't know what was going on. I just saw, you know, and I pepper sprayed him. And then they went crazy on him. You know, however it was, we still don't have an arrest for this white officer. So slavery does play a part in that.
Absolutely, and I would like to say I have seen that story some as well, Capone, and I think as those things unfold, you know, allegedly that is a thing that I'm seeing right now. So I think as it unfolds, we'll continue to see that. I like to add a small piece to here. Personally, I do think slavery does play a part, but I think on the end of it, as far as like policing, what we see, we know that stems from slavery. You know, you had slave patrols back in the early 1700s. So to continue to see this structure not be changed and constantly, you know, we see these things happen. As you mentioned, Capone, we see a white officer. I didn't see his face plastered as fast as we see the black officers' faces on there. So I do think policing in general anything that deals with policing is going to go back to slavery for me, because it's no different than slave patrols. And I want to read this really quick. Here's what it says. It was to establish a system of terror and squash slaves uprising with the capacity to pursue, apprehend, and return runaway slaves to their owners. And that doesn't sound any different than what I'm seeing here, you know, in this video and other instances as well. So that's my piece on it. Again, I appreciate all three of you for chiming in on this topic. We're going to close out with what you have going on to add some light. So Danielle, all the way from the Bahamas, I'm going to start with you this time. What do you have coming up? And of course, how can people follow you?
Well, what we have coming up is still the production of Sis. So we are in full gear to get that out to you this summer, all new season. And you can follow me on Instagram at DEEA Miller. And on Facebook, Danielle. YouTube channel is Danielle. That's Danielle with an EDENIELLE. And that's how you can follow me.
Absolutely. Pierre, I'm coming over to you. What do you have coming up? And of course, how can people follow you?
Well, let me go back on something. I don't know how to interject this, but this is my girl Danielle. When she said in Memphis, she was surprised that they said it's a norm, and she didn't, you know, this is a norm. Well, let me show you something. Let me tell you something, Danielle, how we do it in America. No footage, no crime. So crime can happen all day long. They can whoop them black people behind left and right. But if there's no video camera, people say, hey, I ain't seen nothing. Nothing happened. Nothing moved, you know, the cops. So when you see, you know, that's the reason we sometimes complain about being beaten on it. There's no video of it. And our word gets the cops' word. So the people are right. So if you're surprised why I didn't hear anything about it, you know, it's going to be like that in Memphis and all. It happens in all major cities. If there's no police, you know, there's no camera. This incident right here would not have been the same way if we wouldn't have seen it on camera. Had it not been on camera, it'd be like, he was struggling, he killed himself, he hated his own self. Whatever, they would have found a way. You get what I'm saying? So that's why, well, a lot of times black people get mad about inner city policing and crimes. It happens normal. We get beat up all the time and we don't see nothing about it because there's no camera. So just let you know that. Comic Pierre, COMIC, We have a great show this week on Pierre's Panic Room. We got my man, Mr. Marcus. Okay. Why are you clapping, Stephanie?
I'm excited for you, Pierre. I'm excited.
Okay. And to hyping up, you see my man Capone got his baseball cap on because Mr. Marcus love wearing baseball cap. Do you wear your baseball cap, Capone? Do you wear your
Yeah,
baseball
I
cap
wear my
all the
baseball
time?
cap, bro.
All
For
the
some
time?
reason, women like that little thug look when you taking
Okay,
your
I
hat.
get it.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. All right. No.
Capone, I'm gonna kick it up to you to close us out. What do you have coming up? And of course, how can people follow you?
Tonight, Tuesday night, you can check me out on Cap Back. We're back on Instagram Live. This week, I'll be filling in for Frank Ski on 104 in Atlanta. And February calendar is getting full. And I'm very excited about it. I thank those promoters that believe in my work and keep hiring me. I appreciate you. You can find me on Instagram, Comedian Capone. If you cannot spell comedian, please don't follow me. That's all I can say.
Put it in them comments.
Big fan of the Comedy Hype News Show? Well, now you can join us live in studio for lunch at Comedy Hype. Click the link down below in our description or go to our Instagram page and click the link in our bio for your chance to RSVP. I hope to see you here for Comedy Hype News. I'm Symphony Thompson.